Hello chess enthusiasts, my name is Miha and welcome to my chessrealm YouTube channel. So AI Cup Division 1 winners tournament is over. Maxime Vachier-Lagrave, commonly abbreviated as MVL, is the winner, and in the finals he had to beat Magnus Carlsen in the second game, the last game. MVL had white pieces and he started with e4, c5, knight to f3, e6, d4, c captures on d4, knight 3 captures, a6, and we have this Khan variation of Sicilian defense characterized by this e6 pawn push. c4 was played, knight to f6, knight to c3, queen to c7, a3, b6, normal developing moves followed, of course. Bishop goes to d3, bishop to b7, white castles king side, and now bishop to d6, targeting this pawn on h2. So white plays f4, blocking the diagonal. Bishop goes to c5, attacking this knight on d4 and pinning it, of course. So white plays bishop goes to e3, unpinning. Knight goes to c6, double attack on this knight on d4. Knight goes to c2, offering the trade of bishops. d6 was played nevertheless, protecting somehow this e5 square, preventing this immediate e5 pawn push. And now white plays queen to d2, black castles king side, rook from a goes to e1. Development is more or less over and black continues with knight to g4. Now we have further attacking this bishop on e3, forcing white to decide what to do with the bishop. And bishop captures bishop on c5, d pawn recaptures, so black opens this d file, preparing to occupy it. Queen goes to first e5, so white controls this d6 square and black controls this d4 square. Rook from a goes to d8, x-rank queen on d2, so queen goes to e2, attacking knight on g4, knight goes back to h6, rook to d1, neutralizing the pressure on the d file, and now black knight jumps on d4 square. It's a very strong outpost, so white immediately captures it. Knight captures knight on e4, c pawn recaptures, attacking knight on c3, and knight goes to e4, preparing to deploy it on this very strong d6 square. But black is on the move and plays knight to f5, protecting this d6 square, so white cannot jump for the time being. But now white continues with a very interesting move. Rook goes to f3. Now this is a very delicate position. Knight jump on f6 is a serious threat. Let's see, after a random move, let's say a5, then knight to f6 check. King can of course go to h8, but then rook to h3 would be deadly. So after g-pawn captures on f6, then rook to h3. White is going to capture pawn on f6 also, and then all sort of mating threats can come up. If black would capture pawn on e5, then queen goes to g4, check, king to h8, rook sacrifice on h7, king to h7, bishop captures knight on f5, check, e-pawn has to recapture, queen to h5 check, king to g7, queen g5. Well, if king to h7, then rook d3 is gonna be made in a couple of moves. So after king to h8, hoping for this f pawn push, try to defend the king, then simply queen to f6, check, blocking the pawn. After king to g8, rook to d3, it's gonna be mate no matter what black does. Okay, let's go back to this position after rook to h3. Now here, black would have to respond with queen to c6, targeting this pawn on g2. After e-pawn would capture on f6, then black has to return the piece with queen to g2. Because if black plays another random move, let's say a4, then we have mate in 3, queen to g4 check, king to h8, rook h7, king h7, and queen to g7 would be checkmate because knight on f5 is pinned by the bishop. So here black would have to play queen to g2, queen would capture on g2, bishop captures on g2, king captures on g2. Yeah, here black can gain a whole rook with knight to f3 fork, but then king to f3. Knight captures on d1, but then bishop captures on h7 check, king to h8, bishop to d3 check, king to g8, bishop to h7, and we have perpetual check. Okay, let's go back to our game. So now you see how tricky this position is. Black plays bishop captures knight on e4, removing these unpleasant threats. Bishop recaptures, and now knight goes to e3, attacking the rook. So black places knight on a very strong d3 square, deep inside white's position. Well, white should remove the rook, but instead white goes for a stunning but unsound sacrifice. Bishop captures pawn on h7 check. Now black more or less has no other options but to recapture it. So king captures on h7, rook to h3 check. If king goes to g6, then queen to h5 mates. So king to g8 was played, and now queen to h5, threatening queen to h8 with mate. And here there is only one defense, and that is f6 pawn push. After f6, then after queen to h7 check, king to f7, e pawn captures on f6. Now g pawn is pinned, of course, and white threatens to grab the pawn and the queen, but here simply king captures on f6, and here white is lost. Yeah, white can try with rook to h6 check. G pawn captures on h6, queen captures queen on c7, but then knight captures rook on d1. Well, two rooks and a knight versus a queen would simply be too much for white, and here black is winning. In the game, however, instead of f6, f5 was played, totally equalizing the position. Now white continues with queen to h7 check, king goes to f7, rook goes to h6, g pawn is pinned, but white cannot do much. Black could have easily captured rook on d1. After knight captures rook on d1, then white has to force perpetual check, because if white would try with rook to g6, trying to grab this pawn and grabbing the queen, then simply king to e8, rook g7, rook to d7, and black sets up defense and has a winning position. So, like I said, here queen to g6 would have to be played. King cannot go to e7 because queen e6 mates. So after king to g8, queen to h7, king f7, queen g6, and we have perpetual check. In the game, queen to c4 was played, and that was a fatal blunder. Pawn on g7 is not implicitly protected anymore. Now rook goes to f6, check. King to e8 is the only option, queen to g7. White threatens with rook to f8 mate. If queen goes to c5 defending, then rook to e6 check, queen e7, rook e7, and it's checkmate. If rook captures on f6, then e-pawn recaptures on f6, threatening with mate on e7. After again queen to c5 defending, then f7 check, king d7. White promotes to queen with check and has decisive material advantage. And therefore, in this position, Magnus Carlsen resigned the game. So, I hope you like this game. I hope you have learned something from it. If you have any questions, my email is below in the description. Of course, I invite you to visit my Instagram page. That's it for now, and see you soon.